Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to another episode of today's show. My name is Alicia Thomas. As women, we often feel the pressures of our day-to-day routines weighing heavily on us. And for many, the expectation of being everything to everyone adds on to that stress. To help reduce the heavy loads carried, more and more women are turning to life and empowerment coaches. These are certified professionals who use motivation and counseling to help others reach a sense of clarity in order to move forward in life while achieving personal success. With me today is Niki Brown, a woman who does just that. Niki, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for inviting me to be on. I'm excited to speak with you as well as your audience.
So, Niki, last year I had the opportunity to go to a women's conference, and this past year I attended your annual women's conference, or rather, women's movement. And one thing that stuck with me at your event, and even the one prior to, were women who identified themselves as empowerment and life coaches. So, what does that mean to you? What does being a life and empowerment coach mean to you?
Well, Alicia, again, thank you for just allowing me to come on and speak with you. A life coach is simply somebody who really comes alongside of you and helps to push you in the areas that you're already gifted in. I think if anyone has ever played sports, if you've played sports, I know I have, the coach is there as that third eye to look into your life. You're already coming with the necessary gifts, skills, and talents. A coach can't give that to you, but a coach can tell you how to utilize those gifts to maximize your performance in your personal life, your ministry, your business, your profession, your relationships. And sometimes we need that, sometimes we need that third eye and someone who's objective, someone who is not in our family, part of our friendship circle, but somebody who can just take really an objective aerial view of your life and say, hey, this is kind of what I see. They do a great, strong assessment of you, your talents, your gifts, your strengths, and really are able to put together the pieces of the puzzle and show you a picture of who you really are and help you confirm who you've always been. So that's what a good life coach does. And they also bring about a level of accountability because as I won't even just say women, men go through the exact same thing. Oftentimes our intentions do not carry out into impact. So I intend to write a book. I intend to start my business. I intend to, go back to school. But oftentimes those things are not the things that I actually fulfill for whatever reason. So that life coach comes alongside of you and they walk beside you, but they also help bring a atmosphere of accountability so that what you say you're going to do matches up with the life that you're living.
Okay. I really like that you highlighted the accountability part. I think oftentimes when we seek counsel from others, we forget about that. But it's important that, we are accountable, that there's someone who holds us accountable. And I think that's actually something that's super important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So from doing some research on you, I understand that you began your career in social work and you later on assisted in the development and day-to-day operations of a multicultural community center. So how would you attribute those job and life experiences to what you do now?
Oh, it's everything. And at the time, Alicia, I couldn't see the big picture. I did start off as a social worker. I worked with pregnant and parenting girls. And I worked in group homes, and primarily that work was really with youth and families. And I did that for many years in the inner city with struggling, hurting families. And then I went back to school and got my master's degree in marriage and family counseling and did a lot of work there, got the opportunity to develop a counseling program for a community agency that was associated with my church. And I ran that program, director of the program, for 10 years. And, at the time when I was working and doing all those different tasks and staying up late and, visiting families at 8, 9 o'clock at night, there were seasons when I just felt like, gosh, I don't think I truly enjoyed this. But I didn't realize that all of those experiences developed in me a level of empathy, understanding. It was a guidepost to teach me what I was gifted and skilled in. I got the ability to hone those skills and really begin to maximize on those. And they were baby steps at the time, but it all led me to this place today to now become this life coach where I have a great understanding of youth development, women, because I work with young girls, as well as marriages and families. And it's just given me a really great platform to operate out of.
Okay, so not only are you a life coach, where a lot of the skills that you learned came from your past experience, but you're also the owner of Purpose by Design, which is an empowerment company that helps to teach and inspire women and men, right, to untap their potential and accomplish their goals. So what was it that inspired you outside of your past experiences in social work and working with youth and women to really establish this company?
Well, it does. I do primarily, just to back up, I do more so work just with women now. In the past, I've worked with men and couples and things like that, but now it's focused primarily just on women. And the inspiration came from the years of counseling, therapy that I did with women. I found that who was drawn to my counseling department were a lot of women struggling with relationships, life, their business, their profession, and just wanting to grow in a level of authenticity where they really reach and tap into the person they really desire to be. And I found myself doing that work for many years. And it's not that I set out to advertise to do that work. It's what was drawn to me. And oftentimes that's how purpose is. You discover your purpose from what you've already kind of been doing. And when I look back over my life and I realized the people who were drawn to me the most were women. The people I've had the most impact on were women. I do a lot of women's conferences and speaking and traveling and different things such as that. And although I do other things, I think the greatest impact I've had is with women. So when I started looking for a shift and a transition out of counseling, life coaching was right up my alley. It's something I probably have already been doing. And I realized that to maximize my potential, I really needed to just focus in on women.
Okay. And thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
So piggybacking on what you just mentioned, growing in a level of authenticity, how can we, as women who have so much pressure on us from really being the right mother, the doting wife, the loving daughter, et cetera, how can we really find the strength or even the right balance to working hard, growing in that authenticity, and succeeding in our careers?
Well, I think it's something that I talk about in my book, which is there's a section in my book I talk about embracing the greater you. And, as women, we've been trained from the time we were younger to carry other people. We are the ones that birth the next generation. We don't do it by ourselves, but for the most part, it couldn't be done without us. And I think psychologically, we carry people. We're caretakers. We carry others. We nurture them. We help them. We support them. And in turn, we always end up losing ourselves. And I think that we find that same phenomenon happens in our business, in our profession, in our ministry. We tend to focus in on others. And there's nothing wrong with that because God has given us our gifts and our talents to impact others. But as women, we don't always balance that with being able to, bless others, impact others, but also make sure that we're staying focused on the dreams that God has given us, which still will be impacting others. But we can get pigeon-toed and locked into really just being in this vortex of doing whatever people are expecting of us what they want from us, etc. And so in my book, I really outline a couple of steps, which is number one, to really be and live your authentic self, you have to prioritize your assignments. Besides knowing your gifting, your skill set, what you've been put on this earth to do, when you discover all of those things, now you have to prioritize what is my assignment for this season of my life. And that can be a little tricky because you have to learn how to clarify your vision. You have to figure out exactly what it is that I want to do, not what others want for me to do. So that right there in itself could take 4 or 5 months, Alicia. Just get to the place where you feel comfortable saying, well, what do I want? What do I want? And being comfortable and feeling okay and not guilty with saying, what do I want? So that's the first step. And then once we figure out what do I want, it's how do I get there? How do I prioritize that? Because we do carry a lot. And the answer is not for us to drop everything. That's unrealistic. We're not going to do it. We've got children to take care of. Sometimes we have bills and finances. We've got parents sometimes to take care of. And those things we can't let go of. But my book does a really great job, I believe, of outlining exactly how to balance life and your dreams. And that both things can be a positive in your life and how we are able to accomplish both. That one or the other shouldn't have the dominance in our life. So they have to prioritize their assignment. We have to clarify our vision. We have to learn how to practice the art of saying no. And I think if that's the case, if we knew how to do that, we would be halfway there. We have to prioritize our time and realize that our time is very valuable. And when you know that you're valuable, your time becomes even more valuable. So valuing our time and allotting to our life what it is that we want to do for this season and not allowing anybody to change that. There's going to be crises. There will be times when you can't stick to the letter of the law of time. But I think a couple of those steps, as well as some of the others I outline in the book, will really help to answer that question. How do we balance everything?
I really love what you just said. You said the season of one's life. And for me, that really put it in perspective. We go through so much. And I think we really, really put a lot of stress on ourselves. But just knowing that there's a season, there's a time for everything, helps calm down those feelings of stress. So I think that's important to just remember that there's a season to everything. There's a time for everything.
That is correct. That is correct. And, Alicia, you even saying that is right, because you'll come into a season in your life and it just feels so overwhelming because maybe there's a project that you're working on. And while that project is happening, your kids are going crazy and, all of a sudden the car breaks down and then all of a sudden cousin Nene goes to jail. And everything seems to be happening. And sometimes we can get so overwhelmed we make radical decisions in that moment when it's really just a temporary season. And we have to also teach women how to handle, how to balance yourself in the storm. The storm is temporary, but sometimes we can make permanent decisions. We can quit jobs. We can, let go of our dreams because we feel like the storm has now become a way of life. When really, when you look back on it, it's really been 2 weeks. 2 weeks you've been going through quite a bit. It feels like it's never going to end, but it will, because there's certain things that we can do, to get some of those things off our plate. The other thing I think too, Alicia, we don't do enough of is we don't delegate our authority enough. We do this whole superwoman role, right? We wear this cape. I'm going to handle it. I'm going to do it. I can't trust nobody. Nobody can do it as better than me. Well, we're the only ones going to bed crazy and all frustrated. But we have to learn to delegate our authority and really begin to assess who is with me, who is in my environment. What can I let go of and give to somebody else to do? No, it will not look like how I would do it, but is that the most important? Will it get done? And those are the things that we have to really be able to hone in on and do.
Niki, at your conference, there were women from all walks of life. right? But
Yes.
there were also women consisting of various age groups.
Mm-hmm.
You and your speakers were able to connect and identify with every single person there. It was amazing. Everyone could relate to what you were saying. I mean, I sitting next to me, I had a woman who must have been in her 60s, beautiful woman in her 60s, right? And then
Wow.
right behind me were millennials my age, right? From like 25 to say 30, you know? We all
Wow.
were connected. We all were so drawn into what you all were saying. And I know that we all took something away from it because we had our notebooks out and we were writing stuff down.
Wow.
But for those who were, or for those who perhaps may falsely believe that empowerment and life coaches are concretely for women who say are well into their careers, who have an established family, who are over the age of 35, married, settled down, whatever may have you. What advice would you give not only to those women, but also to young women, say millennials, who are looking for counsel as well, who may not be so set in their careers, but are looking for clarity and even looking to find themselves?
Yeah, I think millennials are the best ones to get life coaching. Alicia, historically, most people, let's just talk about African Americans. We don't even call out for help unless we're in a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we call out for help, the crisis and what we're dealing with is so much. Even the counselor and the coach feels overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we wait and we wait and we wait. And these are the women who are already in their 30s and 40s who have sat in a job for 25, 30 years only to find out, oh my God, I've made the wrong decision and I've been sitting here for 20 years. So whereas some people may think, oh, life coaching is only for that age. Honestly speaking, life coaching really should start when you're in the millennial age because you haven't made any major life decisions yet in your relationships, in your career. Maybe you've made some major decisions in your schooling, but hey, you're still young enough to turn
Mm-hmm.
around. When you're in your 30s and 40s, and you've got children and you've got bills to pay and you're walking already in a certain career path, professional, it is so much harder to turn around and say, I'm going to start all over again because this has been the wrong path I've been walking on for 10 to 15, 20 years. So the first thing I would tell millennials is you absolutely need a life coach. It's like being in high school or college and you have a college guidance counselor. They're to guide you, and that's what a coach does. A coach says, hey, before you take this job, let's really look at all of your skills and assets so far. Let's start off right from the gate, knowing who you are, so you don't have to figure it out by the time you're 35 and 40, and you've wasted 20 years in a place that never really defined you, that never really confirmed you. So what I would say to millennials is you should get a life coach. And it's the best season and time to get a life coach. And I just equate that to like premarital counseling.
Mm-hmm.
People like to wait till they get the ring and the date, but really premarital counseling should start before you even get a ring and a date. Because by the time you do, it's too late for the counselor to say, you guys really aren't meant for each other.
Right.
It's just too late because I've already put the money out. I've already told everybody. It's much harder now to turn around and say, oh, okay, we're not going to get married. Who's going to do that?
Right.
Nobody. So, at the age group that you're in, I think it's a perfect place to really begin to sit down, clarify your focus. You can walk into that job and tell them exactly what you're looking for. You can say, this is where I want to go. And maybe it won't be where I want to go for the rest of my life, but I can see I have mapped out where I want to be for at least the next 5 to 10 years. What an advantage to have. What a platform to walk in with a level of confidence, knowing where you want to go, knowing what options are before you, and, knowing that I can get there, I really can, versus when you come out of college, yes, you look back at the 4 years like, okay, I got this degree. So what do I do next? And, hoping to find a job. And then if you don't get a job, what happens with a lot of millennials, they get very depressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're finding when you get out of college, they're telling you now, well, your bachelor's degree is like a high school diploma at this point. Right. So now you're going on and getting your master's. Well, you know what you find out after you get your master's? Well, where's your experience? So you're like, well, I don't have any. I spent 6 years in school. And they're finding a saturated market. They're finding a market that is very highly competitive than it was 10, 15 years ago. And so they're stuck because they don't know how to think outside the box. So I hope that answers the question. I think life coaching helps millennials think outside the box in advance before they even get in the box. They teach them how not to probably even get in the box, if I could say that.
Yeah. I think you hit it, dead on, really. I mean, the answer was completely spot on. And I think it will help a lot of millennials who are just feeling stuck because, as you said, the job market is crazy right now. And you go to school, you spend all this money on a degree that really can feel like a high school degree, right? And then you figure, okay, let me move on and go to grad school. And that's more money and more time sucked up, and you're left without experience. So, yes, getting a life coach, as you equated it to a marriage counselor, I think is essential for millennials, especially if they need help, with what direction to go in their life.
Absolutely.
So I really find that my generation is consumed with receiving instant gratification, right? Like we said, moving on right from college into grad school, that instant success. So be it from our job, school, our partner, our friends. And what I've noticed is that we've become so consumed with technology, especially in instant success and greatness, that really our interpersonal relationships suffer. So what advice would you give to young adults as it relates to instant gratification, and especially interpersonal relationships? We see young adults and older constantly on their phones, constantly involved in social media. So how can we really find the right adjustments to accommodate our future? Because really, social media is going in such an amazing place, but it takes away from, I think, interpersonal relationships and that one-to-one contact that we've quite often lost.
Yeah, and you're right. I think millennials are at an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is never before have we seen a faster-paced society where things are happening much more quicker. There is a level of instant gratification. It's not that we're looking for it. It's actually real. We can send our resume in via online and get a hit on it immediately versus sending it in the mail and waiting 2 weeks for somebody to get it and get back to us. I mean, there is a level of instant gratification, and social media has helped to create that. So I think really it's not just saying, oh, we're looking for instant gratification. We actually have instant gratification. And as it relates to interpersonal relationships, it's the same thing. When I was dating, and I don't want to date myself too much, but when I was dating, there was no, we didn't have all this text messaging and all that. We wrote letters, and it took time. And now I'm getting to know people much faster than I would have 10, 15, 20 years ago because of social media. So it doesn't take me 6 months to a year per se to really get to know someone. We're talking a lot quicker. We're talking a lot easier. Social media has bridged the gap and has closed or has bridged the gap in time. So things have sped up. There's an acceleration. Now, the disadvantage is that intimacy and true understanding someone's, truly understanding someone's heart and their mind still happens at the same rate that it did 20 years ago, because people are people. We put forth our best foot in relationships like we do in our interview. We put on our interview face. People still do that. There's no difference. Social media doesn't change the process of people's hearts and people wanting to hide. It actually speeds that up even more. So something my former pastor had told me years ago when we were dating, he says, you must summer and winter with someone. And this doesn't just go for interpersonal relationships. I think it can even go for your professional relationship. Summer and wintering basically means you have to give it time. You have to be in a place and in a season where you've seen it from all different seasons. And that summering, summertime is when everything's good. When you're in the summertime of your job, everybody loves you. You're the best thing smoking. Why didn't they hire you before, right? And you think, oh, my God, I'm going to stay here forever. Well, wait till the winter comes. And that's when, hey, maybe you're not doing such a great job, or you're really starting to get to know this boss. You're really starting to get to know, your coworkers. You won't know them like that until a winter season hits. And I think it's the same thing with interpersonal relationships. Our social media doesn't show us who people are through all the different seasons. It only comes through spending time with them, really getting to know them. The process of growth and change happens at the same rate that it did. An apple tree is going to grow at the same time it always does. And that's how people are too. People don't change overnight. People don't show you who they are overnight. So although I may be getting to know you, the details of you, I may still not get to know who you really are, heart-wise, mind-wise, what you're like in a crisis, what you're like in the winter season of your life. Who is Alicia when she's frustrated and stressed? Social media can't show me that. So if I were to give advice to millennials, it is learn how to summer and winter with someone and someplace before you make long-term decisions about a place or a person.
I love that advice. I absolutely love that advice. And I think it goes back to the specific season in one's life and just playing off of that vocabulary, summer and winter.
Sure.
But Niki, I want to shift gears a little bit and I want to talk about you.
Sure.
And really, it amazes me how much you have going on and how well you're able to balance everything. So we both mentioned, or I mentioned earlier about your women's conference, Ignite, and it was absolutely dynamic. But outside, it was great. Outside of the conference, outside of your counseling, you're also in the middle of really launching and pushing your book, which you did talk about earlier. Can you tell us a little bit more about that read?
Sure. There is more. 8 Steps to Embracing the Greater You is a compilation of my life and my journey to breaking free of limitations. It's also an integration of the years and the hundreds of women I have counseled, and men too. The book is for women though, but the hundreds of men and women that I've counseled and the commonality that I've seen with all of us. And I don't just say them, us, because I'm included. There are many times when I was in therapy with people, when I was counseling them, I really was counseling myself. And There Is More is really geared towards that woman who feels stuck in life in whatever personal or professional stage she's in, whether she is just coming out of high school, going through college, and they just not clear of what the next steps should really be. And sometimes when you're stuck, you will come to a conclusion that maybe this is it. And you will settle for what you can get versus what you really desire. And I think I walked that journey for many, many years because I just didn't know what I was gifted in. I didn't know how great I really was. I didn't have a lot of cheerleaders around me saying, this is what I see in you. This is what I think is possible. I didn't have that own cheerleader within myself. And so for many years, I settled in places that did not really speak to the potential of who I was, the greatness of who I was. I settled in relationships. I settled in jobs. I settled in my ministry assignments because I just didn't know. And when I was told during those various times what I could be, I didn't believe it. And so this book is to really shake the cages and to raise the consciousness level of women in whatever stage they're in. It's even for the successful woman who comes to a season in her life where she has conquered the mountain, yet there's still this emptiness she feels. There's a sense of, okay, so I'm here. I've got the degree. I went back to law school. I'm a lawyer, and after 5-6 years, she's starting to feel restless and can't explain it. So there's a chapter in my book called Trust the Transition. And it's for all those successful women who have said, hey, is this it? Shouldn't there be more? Or I want more. I just don't know what more looks like because I'm so successful, right? Sometimes success can keep you from seeing the next level of your dimension. So I think that's what this book is really designed to do. It's for the woman who is stuck in any stage or phase of their life, stuck in their vision, stuck in their sense of purpose, stuck in activating their God intention. They know what their purpose is. They know where they're gifted. But for some reason, they're always in a season of getting ready. And I think many of us have been there. You know what it is. You have the book title. You have the business idea. You have the blueprint. You just haven't activated it. And you can't explain to anybody why. So this book helps to explain to you why you're stuck and to push you out of those corners of life and to really get you to embrace the greater you.
I think that's wonderful. Well, I definitely don't want this conversation to end, but I know time is of the essence. So in wrapping up, is there anything in particular that you would like to add?
I'm just excited about this season of my life, as well as the women who are going to be connected. I'm going to be connecting with. I just recently moved here from Lexington, from New Jersey to Lexington, and there is a personal journey that I had to take. When I left New Jersey, I said, oh my God, I guess this is it. I don't know anybody. How do I start over? It's been so many years that I've developed this here in New Jersey. How do I start again? And really being able to minister There Is More to Me has just fueled my passion. And I got the wonderful opportunity to meet you. And, it was great seeing you at my conference. So, I'm excited about meeting more women such as yourself and just getting connected with what they're doing and helping them to release the more that's in them.
Well, thank you for joining us. And for those the services that you offer, buying your book, how might they contact you?
Yes, they can go on my website to www.nikibrown.org. That's with one K, Nikki. NikiBrown.org/there is more.
Perfect. Nikki, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.